So, Karen, you ready for the outdoor broadcast?
I'm so excited, Angela. It's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Great. You're on.
Oh, hi. Welcome to the Student Hub Live. My name's Karen Foley, and for the next 4 hours, I'm going to be giving you an open day at the OU. Now, we're here outside the Hub, one of the places where we have coffee, or a lot of people are in meetings at the moment, and we're on campus at Walton Hall. So we thought it would be a really good idea to have an open day to let you have some sort of insight into what it's like at the OU. If you're a new student, we're going to give you lots and lots of information about things that you need to know in your studies. And if you're a current student, we're hoping that you're going to pick up a few tips along the way, meet some of the academic team here at the OU, get an update on what's happening, and also hopefully share some of your advice that you've picked up in your studies. Now, this session's a bit different today. If you've been to a Student Hub Live event before, we're all about being fun, interactive, inclusive, and it's about developing an academic community. But this time, we're outdoors, and also we've got a chat box, and we're using social media. So any questions that you've got, we will do our utmost to answer, and if we can't answer them, we'll email you back. Now, there's a range of ways that you can get in touch with us. As I said, put your questions in the chat box, and Sophie, who is on our hot desk here on our set, will be able to answer your questions. And we'll also put them to our panel. You can see I've got Matt and Georgina ready to go here on our stage. Now, we've also got our hashtag, which is Student Hub Live 17. So if there's anything you want to know on Twitter, just send us a tweet and we'll pick that up and put that to our panel of guests. So I'm hoping that we are going to reassure you, inspire you, and tell you lots and lots of useful things you need to know. So Sophie, who's in the chat room right now, and how is everyone doing today?
Yes, there's quite a few of us in. We've got Stuart, Davin, we've got Libby. We've also got a few newbies in, which is great news. Some people who are looking to start studying. So hopefully this will give you a nice insight into what we're doing. Any questions, like you said, just let us know. Pop them in the chat for us. Or you can tweet us at Student Hub Live and we will sort those out for you.
Lovely. But you can also talk about other things. Common topics for discussion at Student Hub Live events are biscuits, cake, the internet, which we've got, which will hopefully work outside today, and anything you want to talk about goes. As long as it's nice and friendly and supportive, we don't mind. So please do talk to each other and say hello for those of you who know each other already. So our first session, I've got Matt and Georgina. Thank you for coming along to our new studio. Now, Matt and Georgina are two of my favourite people at Student Hub Live because well, Matt has been the chair of DD 102, which is the Introducing the Social Sciences module, which is a level 1 module if you're doing social sciences. And Georgina used to do that and is now doing a director of teaching role at the OU. But you two know an awful lot about what new students might be experiencing and have some tips for study. So this is the first session, and what we're going to talk about is what happens, what do you get in your box when you get it, if you get a box indeed, and what should you do with it. So Matt, you've got some bits along, haven't you?
I have. I mean, the first thing I would say, obviously, we're from the Social Sciences Faculty, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, FAS. Now, depending upon which module students are going to be studying, they're going to get different things. And so in Social Sciences, we've got blended tuition. So students get some module materials that are paper-based, and we have some online study. You know, science, for example, they're mainly online. I think that's a strength in that as a student progresses through their degree, they'll do lots of different things and experience study in different ways. But when you get a mailing in FAS, if you're doing DD 102, you'll get a README first, which is a good introduction, which Georgina did a couple of years ago.
Excellent. A
good introduction, and we would say read that first because it's a shorthand set of tips for everything you want to do and need to do for the course. You know, how to log on, how to navigate your way around the materials. So that's always a good thing, and lots of other courses have these as well.
Yeah.
I'm working on a course called U116, which is the environment level 1, and they're doing something similar. So lots of different courses have these kinds of read me first guides. And then you get obviously module materials, and these can be online or these can be quite chunky books. I've got a couple there.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would get an assignment booklet in paper as well,
Yeah.
although sometimes these are online as well. And so a variety of different things. So yeah.
Because some people, I was talking to some of my friends who are at Brick Universities, and they were saying, well, what's it like to study at the OU? How would you sort of communicate like what the experience is all about?
Gosh, that's a difficult one, I think. I think the first point to go back to is what Matt said about it being blended tuition.
Yeah.
Because we recognise that everybody learns in a different way. You know, some people like reading, some people like working online, some people like online activities or learning from video or audio. So there's a real mixture of different ways in which you can learn, and you'll find your strengths as you kind of go through that. I think the second thing to say is that many students will feel that this is kind of quite a lonely experience at times. You can, when you get your box of materials, it's really exciting, and then you log onto the website and that's exciting too, and then you think, oh gosh, what do I do now? And you can feel quite alone. But the important thing to realise there is that you're not. It might feel like that at the start, but you're really not, because you have a tutor to support you, and you also have other students who may be studying all around the country, even in different countries, and they will also be part of your community too. And you can communicate with those other students in a whole variety of different ways.
So when people get things, I mean, some of our students will have registered already, some are yet to register for our start dates, and you know, we've sort of got two big start dates really, and the one we're building up to now is the end of September, and then some students will start in February. So we've got students doing different things at different times. But right now, some of the organised ones may have enrolled, they may be getting materials, they may come just before the module. What's the sort of process then in terms of the here and now that might happen for students who have already registered?
Normally students will get if they get a paper mailing, and obviously that depends on the particular module, they would normally get a paper mailing about a month before module starts, 5-6 weeks, a month before. And then module websites normally open about 3 to 4 weeks before. And so they can start, you know, going onto the website. But for now, some module teams have forums open. Some module teams send out emails. We're shortly to send some emails out to people saying, if you're starting to study in October, these are some of the things you could do. And so we're going to be doing that over the next few weeks, just to keep students interested.
Yeah.
You know, we suggested some light reading, you know, maybe look at, say, BBC, The Guardian, The Telegraph, you know, look at some news sites, just to get a sense of what kind of issues and topics are out there that social scientists are interested in. And other module teams will be doing similar things too.
Yeah. And a big hello to Sophia, who's just about to do DD 102 and the stars. So some students might be getting organised, but what about students who maybe haven't heard anything? Should they be worried? Should they be doing anything? Or does it sort of all really kick off right at the end of September?
Yeah, I mean, I would say enjoy the summer, to be honest, because there'll be plenty of work to do. I mean, OU study is hard, but incredibly satisfying. You know, being a student is hard work, but it's fun as well. And so, you know, getting ready, preparing your home environment, I guess, as well. You know, so starting to think about, well, how do I fit study around the kids or work or caring responsibilities, or for some people who are particularly busy, all three. So, you know, starting to think about that, and starting to think about, well, when will I study? Will it be afternoons? Will it be mornings? Will it be in the evenings after people have gone to bed? You know, and so starting to prepare, getting ready mentally and kind of logistically, as it were, for study, yeah.
And some students like to get ahead, so once they get their materials, some students like to read the first couple of chapters perhaps. Once the module website's open, which is usually 3 weeks beforehand, some students kind of like to do the introductory materials on that. And what students can also do as well is to go onto the OU website and look at skills for OU study, and they're this kind of things that they can do to sort of brush up there. But I think my advice would be to, as Matt says, to enjoy the summer, because, you know, you really do have time to sort of do your studies as you go along, and there is a bit of a danger sometimes in getting too far ahead, because you can sort of hit a roadblock and think, oh gosh, I don't understand that, and then panic, when of course you're not supposed to understand week 4 when we haven't even started yet. You know, so we design the modules so that they proceed in a quite gradual, step-by-step way, and it's important to try and do them in that step-by-step way and not get too far ahead of yourself, because that can be quite overwhelming and off-putting, I think, for students.
No, absolutely. It's not PIMS, Stuart. Maybe after 12, I've been told. So you mentioned then that people are getting stuff and there's the study planner going on, and you shouldn't get too far ahead and you sort of chill out. But what does the study planner look like, and how should one do it? Because I'll be honest, when I started studying with the OU a long time ago, and still am now, can't sort of give it up. But you know, I sort of wasn't keen on the study planner and sort of ticking things off. And I know a lot of people live by the study planner and love ticking things off, and I guess it depends on sort of how you work. But why is it so critical in terms of knowing what you've got to do? Because some students might be forgiven for thinking, well, I've just got to read those 2 books and maybe get my assignment. But you've mentioned a lot of stuff on this virtual learning environment that's important, and I'm guessing that the order is relatively important, although probably not essential, in terms of layering the study, so maybe watching a video, etc. How does that study planner work, and what's the sort of variety of activities that students might then want to fit into their week's worth of study?
Okay, well, if I say something about kind of why we do it in this blended way, and that might sort of help, if I kind of give an example. If you're reading kind of in the chapters something about social class, which is a great social science concept, when you're reading it, you might be struggling and thinking, oh my goodness me, Mark said something about this, and then Durkheim said something about this, and oh gosh, I really don't know what class means, because it's a complex concept. So you put the chapter to one side, and then you might go onto the website, and then you'll find that there's a video that tells you something about class, and then you might listen to an audio that also tells you something else about class, and then you might think, okay, I'll go back to the chapter now, and then things will begin to fall into place, and you'll suddenly see that, okay, yeah, I do understand what that's getting about. So the different kind of materials that you have kind of work together, reinforce each other, so that those kind of difficulties in understanding that you might come across are helped by doing other different types of activities. But in terms of the study planner itself, if you want me to go into that, it's generally the central column down the module website. What we have here is the 16J website, and for students starting in 17J, you'll have something that looks a bit different, and may I say better, but it's more or less the same principle, and what you're looking at is that central column down the middle. And basically, as a new student, just click on the first thing there. It says module introduction, and start clicking through step by step. Don't worry if you're a bit of a technophobe, you can't break anything, just keep clicking, and when you want to go back, just press the back button. Nothing's going to happen, you're not going to ruin it for other students or alter the materials in any way.
Get, will your tutor know then if you've done the ticks and done the reading? Is that how they monitor if you're up to date?
No, don't worry. The main thing on here is when you're doing activities and you might be asked to write down your thoughts in a box, something like that, or take notes on something. Your tutor can't see it at all, so you can write whatever you want. No one's going to be looking in on you, and that's really important to say that. However, if you want, you could ask your tutor and say, actually, I've struggled with this activity. Do you mind if I just send you my answers and check that I'm on the right lines? And that's okay to do that as well. But generally speaking, your tutor doesn't know what on earth you're doing on the module website. It's your space.
That's right. I mean, I would say as well, the way we kind of present these kind of materials and the way they're blended together, module teams have spent quite a lot of time thinking about the order in which they should be studied. And I think that's really important, how they link with each other. And so it's a good discipline, as it were, to try to follow the study planner reasonably closely.
Yeah, I think so, especially at the beginning. If you're a new student and you're maybe a bit kind of lacking in confidence, you haven't studied for a while, it's a good idea to follow the order and go through step by step. But what you'll find as you gain in confidence is that you realise, actually, I can miss that activity out. I'm a bit short of time. I've understood it, so I'll just kind of move on. And you learn those kind of little tricks as you grow in confidence. But at the start, play safe and kind of follow the order that we've set down.
Now, in terms of tricks and things, some of the things like watching a video, I mean, that's a nice thing to do. You might even be forgiven for thinking you aren't really studying if you're watching a nice video or an audio. The books, may be a bit more highlighting involved and, note-taking, etc. What would you say to students in terms of how they might manage their time in terms of selecting these materials, maybe at appropriate times in their schedules?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's, if you can, follow the order. As Matt said, we've kind of put a lot of time and effort into thinking about what is the best order to study in. But then think about your time. If you know you have a 2-hour commute and you're sat on the train every day, then that is a really good time to take the book and sit there and do that kind of hard reading of a chapter, because you kind of need quite a concentrated period of time to do that. If you know you've got sort of just 5 or 10 minutes, if you've got a mobile device with you, you can click on one of the activities and do that. DD102 is quite good in that sense, in that on the module website there's a document called Planning Your Time on DD102, and that tells you exactly what kind of time frame you need for each activity. So that's a really good way of planning your week. You can have a look, see where you have your spare time, and see what you can fit into each of those slots. Because even with 15 minutes, you can generally do something. You're not going to read a chapter, but you can do something in that 15 minutes.
It's interesting because the OU's got a big campaign at the moment. And lots of commuter trains have got OU adverts on them, actually, and talking about the OU commute to work, actually, and that's a useful time if you've got an e-reader or you've got the book. You can do some tangible work there. Fantastic. Lots of people commute or on the bus or something. So there are lots of moments when you can take a certain amount of time and just say, do 20 minutes on this, 20 minutes on that.
And a book is a great mobile device.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, you can download the PDFs as well, can't you? If you're going on holiday and feel like you can't quite leave your study at home and that you might just pick it up.
You've got that flexibility, that's great.
So tell us then about some of your advice in terms of finding assessment and the other things. Would you say it's a good idea for students to locate some of those? Because sometimes you get a nice booklet, sometimes it will be on the virtual learning environment. Is it worthwhile sort of finding out when your TMAs are due and what they're on so that you can focus things, or should you wait till the week that it's due on the study planner?
Yeah, no, I think kind of one of the first things you need to do when you start planning your study is to work out when you have to hand in the TMAs. That doesn't mean start to do them, because obviously you need to do the studying, you need your tutor's support and help. But you do need to know when the hand-in dates are, because you might find that you've got a holiday coming up that clashes with that. Or you might find that that's definitely a busy time of work, so you're going to have to work around that. And if you can let your tutor know with good time that this is going to be a problem for you, then they can renegotiate that submission date. So it really is important. And you need to let your family know as well, let your family, let your friends know that actually I've got these dates coming up and they're really important to me. And see what they can do to help to support you, because it's not just you who's studying with the OU, your family and friends, whether they like it or not, are going to be involved and going to have to try and support you in doing it.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, the 3-4 weeks before module starts, that's that kind of orientation time. You will have just got your materials or the module website's opened, and you can start to get a sense of how things fit together. And you can start putting the dates on your calendar to make sure you know what they are. All that, kind of getting ready.
And we'll have lots of Student Hub Live events during that sort of run up to modules, probably with Matt and Georgina as well, again. So we'll be guiding you all through that. Now, our next session, we're going to be talking about tutorials and using your tutor and studying more generally. So I just wanted to wrap up by asking about forums and activities, because we've talked about how your tutor won't know what you've written in your activities and things. But one place they might see things is on the forums, which people will find. And Matt, you mentioned sometimes there are welcome forums and sometimes there are various forums there. For some students, they can think, filling something like this in, I'm acting out my identity in a sort of way, and I'm trying to be like a student now, and how do I be a student? What advice would you give for people in terms of maybe putting questions on there or engaging with other people on those forums?
I mean, I would say I think it's really important that students, because forum kind of the activities that students will do on forums, it comes in kind of 2 forms. One that will be assessed and one that will be kind of more social, kind of content based, the questions they just want to ask, basically. But what I would say is for a student to engage as much as possible with the different things and different forms of social media, so going to tutorials, face-to-face ones, using Adobe Connect, which will be online, and using forums as well, to immerse yourself as much as possible. And don't be scared about the forums. I think that's a big thing.
I was going to say, I think a lot of students struggle with the fact, we all use Facebook, things like that, and they think, okay, great, it's another forum. It looks quite different to Facebook, so that takes some getting used to. And I think it feels different because a tutor will be there. And I think many students, especially at the start, think, I don't put something on there because it'll be there then, it'll sit there, and I'll have said something really stupid. Try and get over that. I know it's really hard, but really your tutor and other students really benefit from any question that you ask or any input that you put in. It's like anything, the more you put in, the more you get out. And it really helps if you're brave enough to start off the conversation sometimes, because there really is no question that's too stupid. And if you get over that, I think you can get an awful lot out of the forums. But I know it feels different because it's not Facebook, it's more of an academic forum, even if there is kind of social chat within that too.
Because a lot of students are always tempted to go on to I'm going to say Facebook. Now that's interesting because it's social, and I get that, but actually, where are you going to get more out of things? And I'd actually say probably the OU forums, to be
Yeah.
honest, because you've got a tutor there, normally in a cluster.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
more than one tutor actually,
Yeah.
with a lot of background and expertise,
Yeah.
and they're there to help you. They really are.
And it's, you know, another way in which you can overcome some of that isolation that you do feel when you're studying on your own. You know, it's a connection to other students, other tutors who are all going through the same problems as you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. We're going to pick that up with George in our next session. So, Georgina and Matt,
Super.
thank you so much for coming along, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in September to engage with our students before the modules start. Thank you.
Good luck to
Yeah,
everybody.
good luck.
Yeah. Well, I hope you found that session useful and interesting. In our next session, we're going to pick up on what it's like to study with the OU. We're going to talk about tutorials, your tutor, and creating that space that Matt and Georgina have been talking about. But first, we're going to show you lots of videos around the campus, because I've gone and interviewed Dan Weinbrun, who's written this brilliant book all about the history of the OU. And the first video we're going to show you is when he told me about Walton Hall, which is the centre of the OU, and it's just over there.